This episode of Morning Brew is brought to you by our friends at Sparks, home of the world's greatest sharpener. Go check out sparkshockey.com and also Apex Entertainment. Apex in Marlboro has 100,000 square feet of pure fun for all ages. And we are thrilled to welcome Apex Entertainment to the Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor family. Well, just a couple of days ago, if you think about it, the proverbial world or the sky was falling in the Boston Bruins world as a whole litany of bad things happened in no particular order. You get Brad Marchand suspended. You get Bruce Cassidy COVIDed. You get, just recently, Charlie McAvoy, non-COVID illness, out of the lineup for Saturday night. You lose to the Detroit Red Wings. You have Jake DeBrusk asking for a trade. Holy shit, did you have a lot of badness going?
It feels like it was a month ago too, doesn't it? Maybe it's just the way my week was, but it feels like a month ago.
That feels like a year ago.
Yeah.
The games that you and I had this morning, I know you had this afternoon too, they feel like a month ago. Like, oh my God, as we sit down and welcome you into Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor, which is, and we are all about honesty, more of an afternoon beverage, if not a late afternoon one today, as both Razor and I had some stuff post-game Saturday night, and then Sunday morning was a youth hockey extravaganza, especially for one Andrew Raycroft and family. But the world was falling. Everything, the world was falling. That's awful. The sky was falling. The world was
ending. The world, the ocean, everything was falling.
And yet we talked about figure out a way, Razor, just to get through it. And I think that's got to be the lesson again. Doesn't mean everything's great, but you get through it 1-1-1. So you get 3 of 6 points. And while that is not earth-shattering, it's not awful either. You could have gone 0-3. So you find a way to go 1-1-1 after you lose on Saturday night to the Tampa Bay Lightning 3-2 in overtime in a highly entertaining game, especially if you're a Bruins fan, until the end, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But overall, if you look back to that last 5 days from a broadcaster and from a former player perspective, what do you take out of it?
I take out that this team is extremely resilient, and in a season that is going to pose challenges that they haven't seen just this week, getting tested every day. It feels like there's going to be something else throughout this entire season, similar cases, similar issues, that this team is very resilient. And I think the microcosm is Saturday of the entire week. Their ability to go down 2-0 on a couple of unlucky plays, flat out unlucky. Riley knocking a puck, and we'll get to that. But to come back against a really good Tampa team and to continue not get frustrated, to continue to be resilient, to continue to stay with it. This group still has all of those things. They might not have everything that they've had the last 5-6 years, but they still have that. And that goes a long way in this season. And the other big highlight for me is they went 1-1-1. They only got 1 point at home this week, but they outshot their opposition 81-42 in those 2 home games. Mm-hmm. So that is pretty good too. That is pretty unlucky to only get 1 point out of that kind of an effort on home ice. So resilient week, very resilient week, and commendable for those guys, the whole organization, to get through it.
Even though the Bruins vastly outshot Detroit, just to go back to that first game, I got to tell you something. Their interior defense was so much better than Tampa Bay Lightning's. And that to me is, I understand that Tampa is still a fantastic team. I know they're missing Point, and I know they're missing Kucherov, but and what I don't remember at what point, but they lost Chernak in the game too on Saturday. But the Bruins really attacked after not getting inside at all against Detroit. Holy smokes, did they get to the inside against both Nashville and against Tampa? A team in Tampa that is supposed to be difficult to get to the middle on. They got there. And if it was not for Andrei Vasilevsky, the game is very different. Now, of course, he's a big part of the team, and we understand the value of high-octane goaltending. But the Bruins, to me, had no issue. And let's not forget the Bruins are missing two major people too, just like Tampa is. The Bruins showed right now, and all we can grade Razor is right now in front of us, that they could handle them. Could they handle them down the road? I don't know. I don't know if they're deep enough. But right here, right now, they showed that they could skate with them.
No question, and yeah, the Vasilevsky part's, I guess, at this point a Tampa issue, right? He got them a point, but the reality was the Bruins, like you said, got to the inside. They hit 4 posts. They did everything they possibly could to produce 62 minutes of really good hockey. And if they play that way, basically the way they played, certainly in Nashville, certainly against Tampa, getting to the middle. We did it in pregame, we did it in postgame, especially the second line and Haula and Coyle getting to the front of the net and making plays in front of the net, not just standing there and having shots blocked from the point. The pucks were actually getting down to those guys, and they were making plays with it. That they do that over a consistent period of time here, they're going to win more than they lose. There's no question.
So is it too early to say that we have found chemistry between Haula and Coyle? We talked much earlier in the season that they had played together in Minnesota. It's been brought up again, the connection that they've played together there, had some success. But is it too early, not to be Debbie Downer here, but is it too early to say that we have found this chemistry, or do you feel like that there's something legit there? I'm going to say my opinion is that it is, to use a coffee term, it's percolating, it's brewing. How about that? But I'm not ready to say it's 100% there. I'm just not. I'm just not.
I was not going to jump in. I knew there was one of those, something coming. I could tell, and I was going to let it go because I knew it would be a good one and brewing, percolating. I'm along those lines as well. I'm certainly not mailing it in and cashing it in, I should say, the chemistry, but I'm also not going to just poo-poo it and say that it's only luck and it was 2 games. I think the way Hall has come off of being benched is the same way. I think that's percolating. I think it almost took some stress off of him. It felt like a bit of a weight of a shoulder, and I know we talked about it, but to pose that and to roll with it. Listen, I think they have to roll with it one way or the other, whether it's chemistry the entire year. I think they roll with it at this point. We talked about it. What should the lines look like? I think it's a pointed question. I think it's something that's it is going to be very interesting on Wednesday what they do. Because I personally, I think they need to. I think they split up the big guys. I think they switch things up in a big way here, and maybe try and capture it and get that depth that we've talked about.
They need it. They need it. They have to mix it up. Now the question becomes, how do you go about it? So let's go about it here. Let's talk it out before we get to, I want to break down the goal that was scored by the kid Radish, who made a wicked move. I also want to talk about Lazar's goal that was outstanding, and then talk about the overtime goal. We'll touch on the Swayman performance against Nashville too, only because we didn't do a brew after that one. So we got a lot to get to, but let's get to the line combos that, as we sit and record this show on Sunday late afternoon, we should have some idea Monday at practice. The team is leaving Monday. They're going out west Monday. So they'll have a skate, and then they'll have a skate Tuesday out in Vancouver as well. But I got a hunch, unless somebody's dinged up, right? That's the other thing. We maybe won't, but we should see more. So let's just assume that your centers, in starting with Bergeron, we know that he's in the middle. The question is going to become now, I mean, I can't imagine that you don't keep Haula on left wing. I don't move him back to center. He hasn't been as effective. So I'll put him on one left wing. I've got to imagine that one center would be, your fourth line center would be Frederick, I guess. He's been better at center.
Yep.
Okay. So then that leaves, I'm guessing, Tomáš Nosek. We'll call him as a third line center. Whatever the number is okay, whatever.
Yep.
Now the question is, how do you fill in around that? Because if you're going to keep Haula on left wing and you're going to have Coyle, you could Coyle at center. I mean, is that what is that where we're still at with Coyle at center? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now if you're really going to mix it up a little bit, I guess you're keeping 63 with 37 with Marchand coming into the lineup. Yes. Some people last night were talking about moving Marchand off that line.
Yeah. Putting Marchand. And if that's the case, that it's going to be interesting. And we could probably we're going to spend too much time talking about it. But again, I think you try and find a way to keep Haula, Coyle together. You try and I'd like to see Hall and Pastrnak together. So whether you put a Foligno,
so where do you put Taylor Hall then?
The Hall. I mean, that's the issue. That's So I guess you decide whether you want to keep Haula and Coyle together, or you sacrifice Haula down to the third line and go Hall, Coyle, Pastrnak, and go Marchand, Bergeron, Smith.
I think that's what you have to do.
That's more likely what you have to do. And then you put Hall on the left with Nosek and Foligno, third line.
Over Lazar, and then you go
Frederick, Lazar, and Kuhlman. Can you move those guys around? Someone's going to be on the wrong side.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking you keep Foligno with Frederick.
Yeah.
With size there. Yeah. And then you either put Kuhlman or Lazar
on the
right side with Nosek.
Yeah.
So the odd man out is now Jake DeBrusk. And is that smart?
No.
Is that right? So
right, it's not smart. I'm answering I'm being dumb. It's me that's the dumb one, because no, you have to find a way to keep him in the lineup because he's worth less if he's sitting in the stands. Right. And he has played good. He got a good goal in Nashville. I thought he had a really good game against Tampa. Their line was good again. They were moving. They were cooking. So it's good. So the line's really interesting. It's a big story. That's the story this week coming up.
Okay. So that's the story this week, is we'll keep an eye, or both eyes, on that. Let's go we'll go back to Thursday. I want to touch on Swayman's performance against Nashville. Kid was as calm and as this year as good as we've seen, the best that he's seen this year. What was the best part about his performance against Nashville when the Bruins won 2-0?
The best part was his ability to track the puck, his patience, his edge work was really good, which allowed him to control rebounds better, keep everything in front of him a little bit more. Nothing was flying off to the sides. The couple times it did, he knew it was going to go that way, so he was able to go and move with it. Mm-hmm. And I touched on it a little bit pregame. I talked to you about it. This exact week is why Jeremy Swayman couldn't just be given the number one starting job. This is why this week was exactly why he couldn't be handed this, because he didn't play that great against the Rangers, a big marquee matchup game. Mm-hmm. Didn't look comfortable in that Ranger game. Had some rebounds again for 2 games in a row. Lost 2 games at home in a row. So he gets 6 days off. Okay. He doesn't have to go in and play the Vancouver game, which they didn't play very well. Could have gotten away from him, and then you're on a 3-game losing streak. He gets to sit and watch that. Ullmark gets the win. Sits and watch Ullmark play okay in a 2-1 loss. Didn't really have much. The team didn't score enough. He gets 2 days with goalie Bob, strictly goalie work. Didn't even practice, just goalie work. And then he gets his time in Nashville, and he's sharper because of it. He's mentally sharper. He's physically sharper because he's developing and getting better. So for everyone out there that was saying they should have went with Swayman and Ullmark or Swayman and Vladar, this is the week why you couldn't have done that. And this proves it why, because he still needs to develop. He needs to get better.
We talked about this before. Let's again, the Swayman Vladar combo is almost the dreamy situation, because then you say, oh, we're going to have these two goalies for 12 years.
Yeah.
You can't say that, because of the team in front of these guys is different than what Vladar is seeing in Calgary. And he's not playing every game or every other game, even in Calgary. He doesn't have a Markstrom if he stays in Boston to bank things off of if he's Danny Vladar. So I understand why people want to look at that and say, oh, they shouldn't have done anything. They should have just kept both. Maybe, you know what? Look, maybe they could have gotten a little bit more for Dan Vladar. I know there's people that felt they could have maybe bumped it up to a 2nd-round pick. If you want to split hairs, fine, split hairs. They still had to move him and get a veteran to come in. And I'm not picking on Brian Elliott. He's just top of mind. I'm just thinking of him because they saw him. We saw him last night. Longtime vet, 12 or 14-year career now, Razor, something like that in the NHL.
Yeah.
Brian Elliott wouldn't have been the guy.
No. And
No.
It's not a good enough. And to say, and Tuukka's coming back. Well, listen, look at the panic that happens here right now when they lose a game to Detroit,
right,
or a game to the Rangers at home, and oh, they're terrible, they're horrible. Imagine if having to wait till February for Tuukka. And things aren't going like it's crazy. You can't wait till then either. The season's over by the time that happens. So, so I think that this was a good example for everyone to recognize that the reason Swayman played so well in Nashville is because he had 6 days off and he got to work on his game in those 6 games, and that is improving his development over time.
And then he was good against Tampa too. I mean, the one goal, the first goal, the Radish goal. I didn't know. I mean, I know who Tyler Radish is, but I didn't know that he had that move in his back where, as we talked about Nesson, but also just in general, hockey people know when you make that stick, the move to go inside. So he's a righty coming down the left side. He's driving into Riley, getting leverage underneath, and then puts the stick the puck through the stick basically area there. Usually you bring it to the forehand. And then you go past or you quickly shoot it. He touched it to himself and went to a backhand short side. And Swayman was diving and out of position. I'm not going to say it was a bad goal. I'm going to say it was a misread. Because holy smokes, who knew that Radish had that move in his bag?
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he did it, and you said it on TV. I don't know if Radish did either. The reality of it, it was the way to play. So he overreads that. He overread the Stamkos overtime play. You see him get it sliding away. Got a little wide in his stance, which is something they're trying to narrow him up a little bit, get him a little tighter so he's not so reliant. That's what helps kick rebounds out, is that big wide butterfly that he has, that big flexibility. Narrow things up, those rebounds end up finding a way to the corner. So they're working on that. But so there are 2 plays that he overreads, but for him to grind through that game, he had two goals on 9 shots. He's watching Vasilevsky make save after save after save. He came through, made the last 16 saves up until he made 15 saves in a row, I should say, before the Stamkos goal in overtime to get his team into overtime. He had to make a few plays. It was a tough game, much tougher than the Nashville game. Once you're in a rhythm, you get 42 shots. That's tougher for a goaltender to do it at home. It was a really solid game despite losing and despite not making great plays on the goal. He'll learn from that. And again, it's part of the development. He gets to watch. He gets to see more NHL plays happening. They go in the memory bank.
And now we will see not just what the lines are going to be, but how they go about splitting up the 3 games in 4 days that will happen. coming up this week. Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday are the games. Wednesday in Vancouver, Thursday in Edmonton, and then Saturday in Calgary, the big hockey night in Canada, West Coast game, as they like to call it, the second game.
10 o'clock, right? 10 o'clock?
10 o'clock start.
Eastern?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's going to be glorious.
Yep.
Nothing like it. Nothing like it. And then early Sunday morning for those of us who are going to be in the cold rinks.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, look, they're going to split it. One guy's not playing all three. Well, they're going to split it up. So it'll be interesting to see if they go Swayman, Linus, Sway, or if they go Linus, Swayman, and then whoever plays better out of the two maybe gets the start on Saturday night. I could see that.
Yeah.
All right, let's just take a moment real quick right now, and then we're going to get into a few other things that I want to get through quickly. We've got a ton of stuff to talk about, but just quickly want to tell you about the two companies that have helped make this episode possible. The Sparks Skate Sharpener. Go to sparkshockey.com and check out the finest skate sharpening piece of equipment there is. Earlier this week, Jake felt a nick in his skates, asked me if I could clean it up. It was so easy, so simple. As always, I told him, give me a little time, we'll do it. He's like, I kind of want to do it. And he said, but let me just watch again. He's 11, right? And so we did it together, super quick. The nick came out, all good. Junior Eagles, big weekend, having fun. Sparkshockey.com, Razors, where you got to go. Check out the products, use Morning Bru, get free shipping. But also, they've got great deals on their website right now. Oftentimes, they can ship out same day that you order. Sparkshockey.com for the finest piece of skate sharpening equipment you can find.
Santa needs to grab it for any hockey family. If you got 2 or 3 people playing hockey, Santa's needs to have this under the tree for you.
It's fantastic.
I love it.
All right. The other company we're thrilled to welcome in is Apex Entertainment in Marlborough. This is a place where if you haven't been out there, and especially if you're a kid, but you don't have to be a kid, there's so much fun to do. It's 100,000 square feet of pure fun for all ages. And as they like to say there, perfect weather is always guaranteed at Apex. You can have birthday parties, corporate outings, special events. They've got bowling lanes, multi-lever indoor go-kart track, laser tags, bumper cars, rope course, arcade, more. They got food, they got beverage. And lastly, they also want to have a live event with Morning Bru at Jaffe and Razor there. We've got to find a night that the Bees are on national TV. Both Razor and I are in town, and we can get the Morning Bru crew together, Razor. Go check out Apex in Marlborough. The kids love it. Love it.
Oh,
it's a great place for an hour or two.
And I love the go-karts. They rip the 2 levels. It's awesome. So I'm booking when we get up there, I'm booking a go-kart rip. But I did a corporate gig. My kids love it up there. They were excited when I told them they were jumping on board. So thanks for the support, but it's an awesome place. So much fun.
It is. Go check out Apex Entertainment in Marlborough. All right, let's get through a few more players that I think are very important to the Bruins in the last couple of games. I think they've had, I hope that they're watershed moments, so to speak, to kickstart them going. First one, Brandon Carlo. Finally, we've seen 2 games where we're like, okay, there. Such a young kid, but very mature and has had a lot of NHL experience. He's been, 4 or 5 years in the league now. They need him to be this way. Against Nashville, you said it in pregame last night, best game he's had of the season, by far. Need to do it. You put it on Twitter, you put it there as well. If Carlo can get consistently at that level, this will make a significant difference for this team, especially in their own zone.
No question. And then you're piggybacking McAvoy and Carlo together basically 50 minutes a night, almost 45 to 50 minutes. That's one of those 2 guys is on the ice. And if Carlo's at that level that we have seen him play and he's played the last 2 games, it changes everything. It makes all their partners better. It makes all the D better. So very, very important. I think we've seen that. I think that's a big reason why they played so well the last 2 games and why the D played so well was because Carlo was anchoring it the way he did. So good on him. Being physical, being long, being strong, moving the puck quickly and decisively.
So yeah, and he was very decisive with the shot that he scored on in Nashville. And I don't know if we see that enough out of him. I see a push of puck to the net instead of the hammer to the net. And I thought that when he took the puck in a few strides against Nashville, his head was up and he was shooting to score, not to just put it on net. And I know that we talk about wanting to create rebounds by getting pucks through, but there's a difference to that and just slapping the puck from the point and to where a goaltender catches it and it's like a muffin and it's like, okay, end of play. Let's reset. And sometimes I think Carlo just puts the puck on net from tougher angles or at the wrong time instead of holding it or rimming it around to the other side or whatever. And I just feel like there's been he had 3 shots against Tampa. It was a little more decisive or determined in that. It's a mindset. I know it's not his number one thing, but it's got to be more regular part of his game.
Yeah, and to your point, those muffins that go into the goalie's chest are the same as shooting it over the glass or shooting it into one of their players' pads. It's the exact same deflating shift, momentum shift, and that can change a whole period. That we've seen it happen where it just goes down the other way, or the face-off happens, they win it, they go down the other way, and then you're chasing the game the next 3 minutes. And so yeah, to your point, those plays, it's almost like he doesn't want to hurt anyone in front of the net sometimes with a hard shot.
Right.
And
Exactly.
it's just hammer time. Let it fly.
Get it through. Work on the control then, man. Get it through. He's such a pro. Get it. Don't hesitate. I want to see him unleash it. Unleash the fury of the heavy bomb more often. Speaking of unleashing, David Pastrnak had 8 missed shots. He only had 1 shot on goal against Tampa, 3 that were blocked, attempted block, 8 that missed. Now, a few of those were posts. That's how they count them. He was on. I've liked his mindset lately. I have. And I've liked Taylor Hall's mindset. So you have 2 guys on the wings, which we've been calling for, driving lines a bit more lately. I feel like, again, like Carlo, something we've been hoping for, something we definitely desperately need to continue to see, though, for this team to have success.
No question, and it's a depth issue, and you've touched on that. It's that depth issue, and that they need to get the depth from the wings. That's where it needs to come from. That's what they did over the summer. That's where they had made additions is those wings to be able to drive lines at times. And when we say that, I think it's a good example of Hall and Pastrnak with Bergeron in the middle. Patrice didn't have to do too much the last couple games. I know he was physical with Forsberg, but offensively, he was just reading off those guys. He was getting to the front of the net a little bit.
Yep.
He's not the one taking the puck 200 feet. He's letting those guys do it. He's following in behind, and that's how wingers drive lines.
And that's what these wingers, like I said, need to do more. I think that Hall at times can get a little predictable with what he is going to do, taking it wide, going behind the net. It becomes, you can flush him to the outside. You can then, if you can't seal him because he is powerful and strong, you can hand him off to your other defenseman. You know what I mean? Be a little less predictable. Yep. And I felt like we saw that the last 2 games, which I think is helpful. Again, getting back to driving the line. Speaking of Bergeron, what were his numbers through? It was 17 of 18 in the faceoff circle through 2 periods against Tampa, and then 21 of 26 overall. Just amazing. And I know there's still people that kind of, faceoffs aren't that important. I get it. I don't get it, though. Actually, I don't get it. Faceoffs are incredibly important, especially for a team that, wants the puck on their stick and has set faceoff plays. Do you think something happens? Probably an unfair question, given we don't even know if these 2 guys will be in the lineup come January 15th. Do you think Patrice Bergeron would look to go with I said it again, with Philip Forsberg? You think he would after that?
I don't think so. I think Patrice, I mean, he's past that. I don't think he's going to go look to fight anybody in any way. He's going to go at him, and he's going to try and cork them. I would count on that. We've seen Patrice, how strong he is on his skates and how hard he can hit. and he's done it since he's 18. Him unloading on guys when he was 18 was incredible to me. I couldn't believe this kid could do that. He's just so strong on his skates. So I would not put it past him to catch Forsberg with his head down at some point, but the fighting, no.
Do you think anybody? Do you think anybody tries to go at Philip Forsberg? To By the way,
Forsberg's not going to fight, so no, I don't. I think it'll be guys going at Forsberg, and someone else is going to have to jump in, and then they go. Someone else gets involved because Forsberg's similar. He's not. He's a skill guy. He's a first line guy. He's going to look at Frederick and say, "Why would I fight you? What a waste of time that is."
Right. Nashville didn't have fighters in their lineup this past game, by the way, between these two teams, but they do have some guys if they want that are willing to fight. I was looking up something, the whole fighting thing, just out of curiosity. I fully admit, no idea. This stunned me. I'm not quizzing you. I'm just trying to, but do you have any idea who's leading the NHL in fights right now? Would you have any idea who to guess?
No, I have absolutely no idea. And I was going to say, have the Bruins even had a fight? Like, have they had?
Well, yeah, he fought the Middleton kid against San Jose.
Yeah.
And Uncle Nick fought in, oh God, who did he fight in? He grabbed. Oh, I can't remember right now. I'll remember in a second. I'll bring it up. But yeah,
but it was just those two, or maybe Forber. No, Forber hasn't, right?
No.
So, anyways, to your question, the only guy I'm thinking of, like a Brady Tkachuk, or the fight recently was Lemieux. Maybe that guy in LA. He might be up there.
He bit.
He's bite. That's why that's in my head. Those two guys. But
there's a kid by the name of Liam O'Brien.
Oh, good Irishman.
Plays for Arizona. He leads the NHL, I believe, with 6 fights this year. I never would have known that.
Too. Yeah. I'm not even bothering watching Arizona play.
Trust me, I'm not either. Why. They have they don't.
Yeah, but there's a couple heavies, right? There's a couple heavies out west. There's a kid in Colorado who's a big kid who's fought a couple times. I think San Jose has a big kid, but
we have Middleton. Middleton's fought 5 times.
Yeah, Middleton.
Tanner, the kid who hit Jakub Zboril, Jeannot, has had 3 scraps this year. He is an absolute bull. That kid, Tanner Jeannot. He's not a dirty player. By the way, you know who he learned from? Tanner Jeannot. He learned a lot from Jeff Odgers, who is just one of the greatest guys. But you know what he learned from Jeff Odgers? He learned about being the most physically fit person you can be. Jeff Odgers is literally farm guy strength. He is. He's farm boy strength. He'd lift pails of everything all day long, all summer. And as tough as could be, and Bruins fans have got to remember Jeff Odgers, and his nose went 8 different directions. I got to know Odgie with the Atlanta Thrashers organization. And if you want to talk about a guy who, as he would say every year, I'd say, "Hey, Odgie, how you doing?" Fooled him again. I'm back in the league. You know what I mean? Like he'd be like, he worked his ass off so much. And that's where, and Tanner Jeannot, Saskatchewan kid, learned from him. He's not a dirty player. He crushed Zboril cleanly, though. I feel awful for Zboril. No update.
Yeah, it's a big loss.
I think it's going to be a while, Razor. I think it's going to be.
It didn't look like a bone bruise when he was getting pulled off the ice.
No. All right, enough with the tangent. A couple of other things. The performances, plural, of Jack Ashan and Connor Clifton. A very nice visual in the game against Tampa. I had major concerns, fully admit, going in, especially for Ashan, just given that he hadn't been able to skate much. I don't even know if he could skate at all because of the lockdown, shutdown that Providence had. And here he comes out and plays, 15 minutes or so, 15:31, had 6 total attempts, 2 hit the net. I thought he had a very clean game. I thought Connor Clifton had a clean game. He played over 20 minutes, 22-26, and 5 hits. Ashan found himself on the offside regularly, too. Not an easy task.
He did a great job. I think right away in that first period, he goes up against Perry one-on-one. Perry's trying to drive the net. And we know Corey Perry is a big big dude, long dude, and Sean used his low center of gravity, got underneath him, pushed him wide, and had no problem with that. He has a good stick along the wall. He looked more, composed. He looked happy to make a nice outlet pass. He was ripping it. He wasn't hesitating. It wasn't a little soft pass just to make sure it was nice and crisp on the tape. And to get that kind of performance out of both of those guys was really, really surprising. Flat out surprising to see Clifton play over 22 minutes and not notice him out there, which is an absolute compliment for him to play the way he does, the way we want him to on a consistent basis, nice and quiet. That was a big deal for both those guys because, listen, Clifton watching Zaboral for 7 games had to have been thinking, I don't know when I'm going to get a chance to get in there again. And for Sean, being in the minors, that it feels like you're 100 miles away. So getting a good opportunity, getting some looks, putting some plays on tape goes a long way for both of those guys.
And we talked about this post game too. Let's not forget this point could be huge. We don't know. But to have those two guys in the lineup and to more or less control the game. But to not have gotten 1 point would have been devastating. To get that 1 point was important. So those two guys get in. One of them's going to be playing on Wednesday night. One of those two guys. Which one? Don't know. I think they assigned a Sean, back to Providence along with Steen on Sunday midday.
Save some
but that's
cap money.
Probably just to save some cap money. Right.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But, assuming, and let's hope that Charlie McAvoy is just an illness that he can get over. We haven't heard anything more than
Monday will be an interesting day over there. There's a lot.
Big news day. Big news day. What's going to happen? All right. Let's finish up with this. What happens now? We started kind of with what do we do with Jake DeBrusk? What do we do with Jake DeBrusk? Let's finish with that because you're heading out west. He's from Edmonton. We know that there's teams out west that are interested in him. I got to imagine that Vancouver would be. I got to imagine that maybe Calgary or Edmonton would be. People and us, we've talked about, I still would love a nice defenseman. I know there's a lot of talk about some centermen. What about a guy like Sean Monahan? I know I'm speculating here, and I know that's a stupid thing to do because you're just throwing darts at the board. But he hasn't been great this year out there numbers-wise, yet he's playing third-line center. Could this be hey, we'll have to maybe add a little bit more to get Sean out of there? Wait, is that a type of player that would interest you in a return, hypothetically speaking?
Yes, he's, and I know he's struggled a little bit. He hasn't maybe lived up, similar to Jake. He's a young Canadian kid, first-round pick, high hopes. Maybe hasn't completely fulfilled them, but he's skilled. He can play up the middle. He can do a lot of different things, and he's different than the other centermen the Bruins have right now. He's not a Coyle. He's not a Nosek. He brings a little bit more speed, a little bit more skill. Whether he's responsible enough for this Bruins organization, we talked about that off camera, you and I, just how hard it is to be a center on this team and the standard that Bergeron set for centers in this organization and how much they have to do. Not all can do that, but I would certainly entertain that. I think getting a guy like that in the lineup brings a lot of skill. So yeah, it would be interesting. The timing of it will be interesting. And does Jake have to bring another bag of clothes to go up there? Or are they going to be patient? Because again, we know the organization's known Jake hasn't been happy for much longer than just coming out on Monday. So do you think what's your sense? Do you think they'll hold on to the perfect hockey deal, or do you think there is a little bit more urgency now to make a move, to just rip the Band-Aid off, so to speak?
I think that there has to be a sense of making a move, because let's not forget, you've got, I think it's 15 days or so until the Christmas freeze for 6 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Forgive me if I'm wrong, folks. I might be off by 5-6 days, but
yeah, it's a long way now.
It's like a week, right? Or 6 days
Yeah.
where there's no move. So how much longer do you wait? Now, if he starts ripping it up, you say, oh shit, we got to keep him. On the other hand, somebody might say, fine, done, deal's done, let's go. I think you got to do it sooner rather than later. And again, I'm not against, if you're moving him just for a pick and you're opening up cap space, you got to do something with that cap space if it's significant. 3.5 to 4 million is significant. If you're moving him for another player, my gut tells me it's a bigger deal. You make a package deal and you try and upgrade either a top 4D, not easy, or a top 3 center. You're not going to get number 1. Could you get a guy who could slide up and down between 2, 3? Yeah. Again, that's kind of why I bring up a name like Sean Monahan. We will have to wait and see. But I look, the Bruins also, and teams have done this before. Haven't the Bruins made some significant deals when they've been on road trips too? So I think they are.
No, it's kind of a thing. Yes,
a tradition.
A bit of a thing. Yeah, it is.
So we'll have to wait and see on that. All right, that's going to wrap up this Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. The Bruins head out of town on Monday to get in Monday night, have all day Tuesday to acclimate to the Pacific time zone. Vancouver, if you're wondering, is going to be not balmy, but it's going to be like here, maybe a little bit warmer. Then they're going to head to some much colder temps in Edmonton, which, by the way, I think today is at 3 degrees, but it will be warmer than that. And then Calgary by Saturday, I think, will be in the 30s, so it won't be too bad. But pack up your parkas, buddies. Get out there. Let's hope, fingers crossed, that COVID does not impact the Bruins more, but don't be surprised if it doesn't rear its ugly, vicious head, so to speak. Let's just see what happens there. And let's again hope that Charlie McAvoy comes back, and we know that Brad Marchand will be ready to go. Understatement. Great job, Razor. Great to see you. Everybody, have a wonderful day. That'll wrap up Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. Again, thank you to Spark Skate Sharpeners and to Apex Entertainment. Everybody have a wonderful day. Razor and I are going to be back with you either late Thursday night or earlier sometime on Friday. So December 9th after the Edmonton game, or the next day, the 10th, we will record something. Everybody have a wonderful couple of days. And as always, please enjoy those multiple coffees.